They slither in silence, but their power is unmatched. These are not your ordinary snakes. They are nature's deadliest assassins. One bite, and it's game over. Can we hit 1 million subscribers before this year ends? If you love jaw-dropping animal facts and insane wild moments, this is your place. Subscribe now, and let's conquer that goal together.
The Green Anaconda. I'm going to come out swinging with this first one, as I'm going to talk about the largest snake in the world today, the Green Anaconda. To be very clear with my words, when I say largest snake in the world, I don't mean in terms of length. I'm talking about length and bulk in combination. That matters because, as the Green Anaconda is the second longest snake in the world, it is also the heaviest overall, and by a large margin at that. So you definitely don't want to tangle with this serpent, as you'll most definitely lose. The question then becomes, how long and heavy is this snake? Well, that's something that's actually a bit hard to pin down. Why? Because different sources have different records for what the longest Green Anaconda ever measured and weighed was. One source said that it was 17 feet for the record, and then an article from early 2024 showed film of a person in the Amazon recording himself measuring a Green Anaconda that was just under 8 meters in length. In addition to that, they said that it was 250 kilos, and National Geographic said it was the longest and heaviest one that was ever measured and weighed. In other words, people cannot get their facts together and agree exactly on what the record is, and that doesn't even account for people who swear that they've seen ones over 10 meters in length. No matter what though, even if you do say that these snakes are only 6 to 7 meters in length, that's still well over double the height of an average or even tall human being. The bulk of theirs also comes into play, as they don't only use their venom to kill their victims, they use constriction to literally squeeze the life out of them. Just picture yourself being slowly wrapped up by this creature and then not being able to breathe as it literally squeezes the life out of you. Doesn't that sound fun? Oh, and did I mention that this is an all-terrain snake? It is absolutely true. The snake can be found in the trees of the Amazon, and then it gets down on the ground to go after its prey, and if it wants to, it can even get into the nearby river channel and easily swim through it to catch something else. The snake is absolutely no joke and proves that in some cases, size really does matter. The blue Malayan coral snake. Our next serpent is the blue Malayan coral snake, and it's definitely one of the more unique snakes on the list, and for multiple reasons. The first reason is rather simple. It's been misidentified and labeled ever since it was first discovered by humans. There are some who still do not know what the snake really is because it can sometimes look like a different snake, especially in its infancy. However, no matter what it might look like, and it does look very cool at times, it is a snake that needs to be taken seriously regardless of whether you're a human or a snake. And if you're confused, well, here's the thing. Even though the blue Malayan coral snake is much smaller than many other snakes, it doesn't even reach 2 meters in length. It actually goes after other snakes to eat. Yes, its main source of nourishment is other snakes, which might feel wrong, and yet it happily does it. That brings us to its venom. This is yet another venomous snake, and it has venom to burn in most cases. Most snakes have relatively small glands that contain the potent venom, and with the blue Malayan coral snake, the opposite is the case, as its venom glands go down to 1/4 of its body. The venom itself contains a neurotoxin which causes near instantaneous paralysis by delaying inactivation of the prey's sodium channels, and that's bad for the record. This kind of effect has not been witnessed in humans. However, the coral snake has killed humans in the past. It may not be often, but it does happen sometimes. Ironically, and much like with other venomous creatures, people have been trying to study its venom so that it can be developed into potential medicine. While venom can be fatal, it can also be used as a medicine when made properly. That's why so many people try to capture these kind of snakes, because their medicinal value can sometimes outweigh the risks of getting bitten by one. That all being said, you should never risk it on your own. The rhinoceros viper. For the record, the rhino viper is named that because of its rough skin that is kind of like a rhinoceros. However, when you look at the patterns on the viper, you're going to see that it's far more beautiful than a rhino ever could be. Not that I'm running a beauty contest or anything. One of the more scary elements of the rhino viper is that it's a snake that is comfortable in every terrain. It can be in the trees, it can be on the land, and it can go into wetlands and thrive without much issue. That's bad for humans because since it is a viper, it also means that it's got venom. Thankfully though, it's not even close to being the most dangerous venom that we've seen, but it does still hurt. The banded krait. Out in the wild, there are certain creatures that want you to know that they're a dangerous animal, and so you will then stay away from them. One of the easiest ways for this to happen is by having the animal color itself in one form or another to make it clear that this is something that predators don't want to mess around with. In the case of the banded krait, that's exactly what it did. When you look at the snake, you're going to notice the very intentional banded look with colors of blue and gold that stand out in the wild. And yes, it does want all of its enemies to know that it has a whole lot of venom. In fact, due to it being over 2 meters in size, it has the highest venom yield of its species, and if it were to bite you, you would experience various symptoms, including vomiting, abdominal pain, diarrhea, and dizziness, but that's only if you get lucky. If it does get enough venom into your system, you could actually die of respiratory failure, and the good news is twofold. First, there's an antivenom available should you be bitten, and secondly, the snake itself doesn't come into contact with humans all that often, and so when it does do a bite in self-defense, it's not always going to put its venom into you. Again, it's not something that you should really try and risk if you're ever in Asia, where the snake resides, but the risks of you dying from a bite are about 10% at best, so the odds can go any way. The death adder. I've already shown you 2 extremely dangerous snakes that live in Australia, so now why not see a third? Meet the death adder. It has death in its name, so clearly everything is going to be fine, right? A key twist with this snake is that unlike most Australian venomous snakes that actively search for their prey, this snake sits in one place and just waits for the prey to come along. I like that. It makes it more unlikely that it's going to go and find you. The snake is so confident in its venom that it will wait for its foe to die after biting them. It knows that the venom's going to do its job, and that's why it's quite dangerous to people that just so happen to stumble across it. The king cobra. Now we get to a snake that everybody knows to fear. This imposing figure is part of the reason that many people know about it. After all, the longest one ever recorded was 5.85 meters in length, and that makes it the longest venomous snake in the world. Another interesting twist with this serpent is that it's yet another snake that is not afraid to go after other snakes. In fact, it's also a cannibal, as it will go after its own species for food at times. The king cobra is fiercely territorial, and it's one of the very few snake species that actually build a nest above ground for its eggs. That's where the mother will be until the eggs hatch. She'll be fierce and protective to anyone that dares to come after her offspring. As for how deadly a king cobra's venom is, it's noted that if someone, whether they be human or other animal, is bitten by one, they'll basically have about 30 minutes in order to get treated. It's literally handled as a medical emergency, as the venom is constantly spreading through the being's systems and affecting numerous parts of the body. So once again, do not get bitten by the snake. You will probably end up living much longer. Wrinkles. For the wrinkles, you don't need to worry about the venom that it has in its body, but how it's going to get that venom to you. This is a special kind of spitting cobra, and they're able to shoot their venom over 2.5 meters, and that means that you may not even see it before it starts spitting into your eyeballs. The good news is that it doesn't have the best aim, so you should be fine. Furthermore, that venom itself is not known to kill, but it can be extremely painful, especially since the snake tends to go for people's eyes and faces. Also known as the ring-necked spitting cobra, it's a highly venomous snake that's native to southern Africa, and unlike true cobras, it has keeled scales and can play dead when it's threatened. It's famous, of course, for its ability to spit its venom. It aims for the eyes of its predators, causing pain and temporary blindness. The venom is primarily neurotoxic, which affects the nervous system, though less lethal than other cobras. It feeds on frogs, rodents, and small reptiles, and it's often active at night, preferring grasslands and wetlands, but also adapts quite well to human settlements. The Black Mamba. One of the more famous snakes in the world today, especially because of the late-grade NBA player who took the snake's name as his nickname, the Black Mamba is another incredibly powerful snake in terms of its mighty venom. 2 drops of its venom can kill a person, and the mamba holds up to 20 drops in its fangs. So you don't want to go making it angry. As for why it's so potent, the venom contains both neurotoxins and cardiotoxins. That basically means that it will partly affect the nervous system, while the other part attacks the heart. You need those systems to live, just in case you forgot. Now, as noted, the bite can kill you if you're envenomated enough, and just as bad is that while you're literally waiting to die, you'll be going through a mighty swath and plethora of symptoms, including pain, blurry vision, and slurred speech, not being able to think properly, and so on. The good news is that there is an antivenom, so if you were able to get that into your system after being bitten, you'll likely be just fine. Equally as important, unlike the last snake, the Black Mamba doesn't automatically inject its venom into someone upon biting them. You have to remember, it takes at least 2 drops of the venom to kill a person. And as such, if the Black Mamba, for whatever reason, is not able to get its venom into you with its bite, or doesn't give you the right amount, you might just end up living, even if you don't have an antivenom near you. I'm not saying that you should ever try and risk that, but the option is there. After all, while the death may not be instantaneous, it can take up to 15 hours for the fatal influences to kick in, and that means that you could be suffering for quite a long time. I am just fine not suffering for that long, though. The mainland tiger snake. There are some fascinating names for snakes out there. The mainland tiger snake is one that you'll find in Tasmania and Australia. I mean, seriously, why do people even want to go down under with all of the deadly things waiting for them? Yes, the mainland tiger snake has killed people in the past. It's not the most common thing ever, as a series of bites over the course of 10 bites only led to 4 deaths. But it is possible to be killed by them, especially if you don't get treated in a good amount of time. When that does take place, the venom can cause you to stop breathing or even be fully paralyzed. And as for why it's called the tiger snake, well, that would be because of its striping being similar to that of a tiger. The puff adder. Now, I haven't talked about African snakes that much on this list, so I'll go straight for the jugular and reveal the one that most Africans fear. That would be the puff adder. It's responsible for causing the most snakebite fatalities in Africa, and that's a figure that immediately makes your eyes go wide, as there are plenty of venomous snakes in Africa, and yet this is the one that tops the charts in terms of kills. It's kind of freaky. So then, why is that the case? It's a truly multi-layered answer. First, they are big snakes that have a whole lot of venom in their systems. And secondly, they are everywhere in Africa, and that also means that they're often close to humans. Finally, depending on just how much venom the puff adder puts into you, you might only have a 50-50 chance of survival without the antivenom.
Which snake shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deadly wonders of nature.